Greetings, salutations, and welcome to SportsLook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and because it's been a little bit like fall, a little bit like spring around here recently, we're going to have a fall coach, we're going to have a spring coach, we're going to have Karli Bustos from volleyball, kind of Riley Price from baseball, all finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Congratulations to Shama El Hadiri for his second time this season. The cross-country runner for Eastern was the Lone Star Conference Freshman of the Week. She'll be on display this weekend as she and the guys are going to be competing in the Lone Star Conference Cross-Country Championships. Greyhound Rodeo, both the men and the women have been off for a couple of weeks. They'll be in action down in Hobbs this weekend for a big rodeo. Unfortunately for Greyhound soccer, they're still looking for their first win. They played well against WT on Saturday, just came up a little bit short. And speaking of WT, the Wagon Wheel will be in Canyon, Texas for a second straight year as WT beats the Greyhounds 43-13 in the Wagon Wheel game. Well, it has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring in Riley Price from Greyhound Baseball right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring back to the set of SportsLook the head man of Greyhound Baseball, Riley Price. And Coach, welcome back to SportsLook.
Thanks for having me, Doc.
I drive by Greyhound Field on a regular basis. For the past couple of years, it looked like there was a lot of heavy machinery at your field all the time. Is it safe to say that the turf is put into the infield and we're done with that?
It is done. Yeah, it is done. So we hope good things moving forward. The padded wall in the outfield looks great. Still have sprinkler issues here and there, but we're really fortunate, and our guys love our infield, and it looks really nice.
I can imagine that is just so much easier than back in the day when you had to detail guys between games in the doubleheader to rake the field, wet it down, all that stuff, and now it's there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into keeping up an infield and edging it, and just the dirt work and things like that. So it's definitely taken a lot off my plate. So all I got to worry about is mowing the outfield now, which I kind of enjoy.
Oh yes, it's very therapeutic. So speaking of taking care of the field and things of that nature, a young man by the name of Casey who was your assistant coach last year. Was he back to help you out this year?
He is. He's done a great job with our pitching staff. Helped me a lot with the recruiting aspect this summer. We lost a lot of seniors last year, and he was a big piece of why we got the arms that we did that came in this year. We signed 27 players overall, and we have 17 returners. So our numbers are at 44 total right now.
Do you have a grad assistant this year?
We do. Cooper Hamilton might be a familiar name. Kicked here and also played outfield here for me for 4 years.
Yeah. I remember one year he led the Lone Star Conference in triples, and that's like the toughest thing to do offensively.
Yeah, no, he tied the record here, I believe. And then that year we ended up leading the nation, I think, in triples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar with baseball, I mean, you have to be able to hit with power, but you've also got to be able to run the bases to get a triple.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps that we have pretty deep park here, so.
Yeah, triple's easier to come by in this park than others. Coach, you talked about the fact you graduated quite a few young men, and it's really cool that some of your young men, through the way that the NCAA works, they actually got an extra year of eligibility if they went up to D1 for a year.
Yeah. So they couldn't come back to our place, so they had to go Division I, and we think 5 total. Lucas Torelli being one, who's at George Mason. Is probably going to have a great year for them. Had a couple pro workouts last summer for him. He's special. Willie Ponce, our shortstop from last year, he's at High Point University. Adrian Rubio is at SFA. Griffin Allman's at Youngstown State. So it's pretty unique opportunity for me to help, move on players and speak for them on their behalf and help them in that recruiting process. As a 4-year coach, you don't get to do that very often. So it was really cool to see those guys continue to play and get that fifth or sixth year even of eligibility.
And it's kind of interesting. We talked about Luciano Torelli just in passing. He was the greatest Greyhound, the greatest male athlete at Eastern New Mexico University. It could easily have gone to Willie Ponce. You had two guys that just had like once in a generation years in the same year.
Yeah, it was a fun season to watch them play like they did. Yeah, it could have gone to either one. I think Torelli, had a little more power numbers. I think but Willie stole some bases. Played a good shortstop and hit 415. I think, and I think Torelli was at 412. So in this conference is pretty special hitter. So.
Oh yeah, in any conference, that's really good. That's 200 points higher than I ever hit in my life. So I was very impressed with those guys. And the fact that Luciano wasn't just a great hitter, wasn't just a great outfielder, he could also pitch a little.
Yeah, no, he was not afraid to come in late in games, just straight from left field and close down games. We did not use him on the mound last year as much as we did the year before, but it was fun to see him compete. He's just a competitor.
And I was reminded of Shohei Ohtani the other night, who pitched a pretty good game and also hit 3 home runs. You don't see guys do that very often, but we saw it with Luciano.
Yeah, that guy's incredible.
We'll talk a little bit about the incoming class. In a perfect world, would you just try to recruit freshmen, maybe redshirt them for a year or get them for 4 years? Do you want to bring in JUCO kids, D1 transfer, or is it a mixture of all?
It changes every year, and I'm not biased toward any age group whatsoever. I do think it's easier to recruit, especially within a budget. And I've coached all over the country, so seeing numbers, right? I think having a back history of some type of success is really important in the recruiting process, especially at this level. We want to make sure they're pretty much ready to go, right? And sometimes that can be more difficult with incoming freshmen if you're not able to go see them live and what kind of pitching are they facing and things like that. But if you know that a pitcher did this in that conference at a 4-year level as a transfer or in a JUCO conference. Or as a hitter, same thing. If they've put up the numbers at a junior college, it's a lot easier to kind of know what you're getting. So I would say it's probably easier to recruit the transfer or the junior college transfer, although they don't really commit until very late. So which can be a little stressful, but we do also have some really talented freshmen this year as well.
I was just going to ask, I mean, in the past, you've done a really good job of recruiting the state of New Mexico. I know we've gotten kids from Albuquerque, Las Cruces, other places. So was this also a fruitful year for recruiting in the state?
It was for freshmen, for sure. And we got a few transfers, and I think maybe 12, 15 total New Mexico. So, some of them being returners, but some special ones. Got a few from Albuquerque. We got a catcher from Portales actually who came from NMJC, and then 2 Chaparral High School kids down by El Paso that are really talented.
I was smiling when you talked about the kid from Portales because if memory serves me, his mom is one of my colleagues at the university, so I know the family quite well. In terms of junior college, are there certain conferences that are better and you just naturally look at, or can you find really good JUCO players all across the nation?
You can find them all across the nation. Yeah. We recruit everywhere. We don't really have like a spot. We love to get the Whackjack kids. Our outfitter from Japan actually, Eiji Sawamura, he's coming from Odessa Junior College where he had 2 really good years for them.
Interesting. Well, I thought it was pretty cool that we had a kid from Okinawa, and now we've actually got a kid from Japan.
Yeah, Tokyo.
Well, okay, well, that's going to be awesome when I broadcast your games in the spring. But let's talk about the fall. For people who know Greyhound baseball, you have fall practices, and then in the past, you've always played a World Series. Is that on the agenda this year?
This Thursday at 4:30. Yep, green versus silver. We've drafted teams. They're having their individual practices actually going on right now, green teams practicing. So it's the one time in the fall where they get to have separate practices. And Cooper Hamilton, my GA, he's coaching one team. And then Jake Petty is also coaching another team who's also helping us out this year.
Okay. And some years in the past, you've been able, because of where Halloween falls, to be able to play a Halloween game. Is that on the agenda this year?
It is October 30th.
Okay, so the Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
6 p.m. So hopefully we get a big turnout there, and our Fall World Series will be let's see, this Thursday, Friday. We're off Saturday because of homecoming, and then we'll pick back up on Sunday at 2, and then Monday, Tuesday, and all games are at 4:30 except for the Sunday game.
Okay. And as far as the Halloween game, it's a kid-friendly event, so we encourage people to bring young people out and get them exposed to Greyhound baseball.
Absolutely, wear their costumes, get to run the bases, and just kind of have an entertaining, fun night.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the spring. Are there any changes to the schedule? I know that we've added another school to the conference. Do they play baseball?
They do. UT Dallas
Yeah.
would be the one we added. So I think in baseball we have 14 now, and so there is no non-conference games anymore. It's all conference. And I guess the change would be to keep us at 50 games, which is an NCAA rule. We are playing our first 2 series as 3-game series.
Well, that makes sense. Because I was trying to do the math in my head, and it's like, no, that doesn't quite add up for a 4-game series. Well, obviously that puts a lot of pressure on being able to prepare in January to get ready to play in February.
Yeah, 3 weeks basically when they get back that we're able to get prepared for that. So hopefully they go home, take care of business, during break, and they're ready to go.
Well, obviously last year we saw really good hitting. We saw guys that could flat out swing it, as the expression goes, and we saw some guys like Rubio that were really good on the mound. What's going to be if you could make a guess, what's the characteristic of this year's team?
Our pitching staff's pretty darn talented right now. We have 15 guys that could touch 90 or 90 plus. So it's pretty special as far as velocity goes. And we have some really talented guys who can command it too. So I really hope that continues to move forward. And then, offensively, I think we're going to have to be really scrappy this year. And I've kind of said that every fall. I mean, if you'd have told me you would have hit 57 home runs last year, I wouldn't have believed you, based off the fall. But I think we're capable. But I think the pitching staff right now, it's probably going to lead the way for us. And hopefully our offense will shine too. It's making our hitters better this fall, and our hitters are making our pitchers better this fall. So.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the success you've had the last few years, and let's hope this is the year we can make a deep run in the LSC playoffs.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring in Karli Bustos from Greyhound Volleyball right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and we welcome back to the set of SportsLook the head coach of Greyhound Volleyball, Karli Bustos. And Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
The last time we talked to you, the Greyhound ladies were still looking for that magic to get some W's, and since that broadcast, well, maybe we brought you some good luck because you've gotten some W's since then.
Yes, they hard to come by, but yes, we were able to get 4 thus far.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a guess, and I could be wrong, but I would guess that of those 4, maybe the first one would be the most satisfying, or maybe it was beating your alma mater.
Yeah, I think definitely both. I will say that beating beating Highlands was definitely a little special. We're 1-1 now, so I haven't forgotten. So hopefully we won't face them probably till next season. But we won't face them until next season. So hopefully we can kind of, not keep those kind of swing it towards us a little bit.
Exactly. And of course, people might say, well, that's non-conference. That doesn't really matter. But when you're playing a team from inside the state, it matters a lot when it comes to recruiting.
Yes, it does. I believe so too. Because we definitely had a few recruiting battles this last year. I was fortunate, like at my JUCO, I feel like I won them a little bit more just because our record was a little bit better. And so I know when I came to Eastern, it was just a little different. And also, being in Colorado, I think had its own kind of appeal as well. So this last season, the recruiting battles were a little bit more even playing field. They had the same record. So that was nice. She was a first-year head coach last year, and she was heading into her second season, so she might have been a little bit ahead of the curve on that end, like in terms of recruiting to that school. So yeah, I think it's going to definitely help moving forward, at least to say that we're like, hopefully we'll still be even. They have a few more wins than we do right now, so I'm hoping as we, they're hitting the harder part of their conference now at the tail end, and ours is kind of a little bit different for us in terms of how our opponents played out.
Karli, let's talk about what is different, the fact that you didn't have wins and now you've got 4 of them. What did you start doing better, or was it across the board you started to do things better?
Well, honestly, I think we just had to find some rhythm. Like the first weekend, we had a lot of very high air. I think that's still something that we're seeing because, we have a few wins, but it's only 4. And to be honest, I think we should have a few more. Like, we had beaten Western and Sul Ross early. And then this last week, we were unable to do that away again. And so I think like we just have to be better at being on the road. But I think the things that have gotten better overall is like we've been able to close out some games. We've kind of been able to kind of figure out the players who are going to like be aggressive at the end and just kind of get a little bit better of a rhythm. I think our serving has gotten exponentially better from like 54 errors the first weekend, which is a number I'll probably never forget, or 52, I think it was. And now I think we're serving a lot tougher. Therefore, our passing is also getting better.
Coach, speaking of your match against Western New Mexico, thanks to Max and the Sports Information Department, we've got some highlights. So let's cue up the highlight reel and please walk us through it.
Perfect. Okay, so Bartlett, she's serving. So that's kind of like, obviously you saw the kill, but that was a result of Bartlett's serve, who honestly Western really struggles with her serve. This play we've been working on the set behind the setter, and we kind of spaced it out to get the middle blocker no block because those middles on the other side are like 6'4" and 6'3", so they're really big, and they're their biggest weapon. So that was nice to kind of get the middle involved there. We're out of system here. The thing about Western is, they've gotten a lot of better out of system. If you can see the setters on the chase, obviously we were able to get a good block, but I feel like this last time we played them, they were way better out of system. Like last time we were very successful, just get them out of system and we're going to win the point. And so this time they definitely challenged us a lot more in that aspect. Here you see Sofia Valdez kind of just doing a little roll shot, which is nice because it messed up their defense. They were expecting her to swing. Sofia actually went a whole set at Western with every single attempt she took was a kill.
Wow.
Which is unheard of. She had a career high. We had 3 career highs during this game, which is kind of interesting because you think we would have won. I think it was Kat, career high for assists. Sophia had a career high for kills. And then our other setter who came off the bench that game, she had an injury. She also had a career high for assists. And also, hand in hand, when somebody gets 24 kills, the setter is going to have a lot of assists. So
yes. The two do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, talk a little bit about, we've talked about the aspects of the game that got better. Talk about the individuals. Who really has come the farthest so far this season?
In terms of skill, I guess I'll start with some leadership points. I think Amani Brown and also Nevaeh Rodriguez, those are our 2 captains. They're both seniors. They've actually been playing together, I think it's been like 4 years now. They went to JUCO and they came here together. And so those 2, like, they have a really good chemistry and they're really good at like kind of communicating with the girls. And they've come a long way in terms of like their defensive efforts for Nevaeh. Amani has a lethal serve. She's leading our team in aces, and that's a skill that she wasn't very strong when I first got here. And, she's been able to find some consistency really fast, which is hard for serving. And then I think the number one, in terms of skill-wise, is like Sofia Valdez. She changed positions from middle to outside. And when you're an outside hitter, like, you're going to get all the terrible sets because every time you're out of system, it's going to the outside hitter and you have to be able to clean all that up. And so in terms of experience out there, she's almost like a baby outside, but like she's just so long and she's a lethal attacker over there. And I kind of think that her natural position has always been an outside, and they've just played her in the middle because it happens with a lot of the, she's 6'2". So they just put him there because they want to block. But I do think that she's come a very long way in terms of that position. And I think our middles are starting to find their footing. Like we've been kind of dishing a few more balls to them. So we're starting to run a little bit more balanced offense because it's sometimes easy to just set Sophia, right? And you can do that against the weaker teams, but when you get a big block, like you have to make sure that we're hitting on all cylinders. And that's something that we're still figuring out as we go.
And it's interesting, a lot of young people, we'd like to think that everybody's coachable. I'm sure you're coachable. I was coachable. Not everybody's coachable. And to ask a person like Sophia, who has been a mainstay at that position for his whole life, okay, now this year we're going to ask you to do something. A lot of kids just, they may say, yeah, but they're not going to put their hearts into it. But it says a lot about her that she is.
Yeah, I think it's funny whenever I actually tried recruiting her out of high school. And we told her, like, if you come play for us, like, we're going to make you an outside hitter. And I think that's why we lost that recruiting battle. And also, like, this is closer to her home as well. And, there's some other things that played into it. But when I got here, I, like, immediately told her, like, you're going to be an outside. And she took it pretty well. I don't know if she was super happy about it. She didn't say this or that. But now if I told her to play middle, she would be like, no, thank you. Like, I'm going to stay over here. So I think that, she's kind of fallen in love with that position, and it's a lot more challenging just because, right now they know she's our main attacker. So she's going to have four hands in front of her. And so she's been figuring that out and, how to, like, be okay with making mistakes and then, just challenging because they're going after her. Like, if they're scouting us, they're scouting that kid.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot heavier of a load on her as well.
Coach, one question that I have not asked you, you mentioned in passing, I went back and looked at the episode, you mentioned in passing your assistant coach. Talk a little bit about your assistant coach.
Yes, my assistant coach is Jorge Araiza. He's originally from Anthony, New Mexico, but he was in El Paso and he was a part of the UTEP program. And I think he was there, I want to say 5 seasons, maybe 4. So I don't know if you know anything about that program, but it's also been a rebuild, and now they're like a mid-major. I think like last year, top 15. I think now they're a little bit higher than that.
Did not know that.
Yes, so they're doing really well. So that coach, actually, I've known him since I was younger, so he's kind of the one that recommended Jorge. And Jorge is a great, he's a really good coach. He's been in the club circuit and also at UTEP, and so, he really works with our offense and our blocking, and he has a knack for blocking because UTEP, they were, I don't know about this year, but I know in the past they were like one of the top 5 blocking schools in the country. And so he's been able to bring a lot of those skills and development. And that's something that I definitely in my coaching need to work on. So it was nice to kind of get somebody who's really well balanced in that, that skill. And also I've been able to learn a lot from him. And then Jorge, he just really has a way to connect with the girls, which I think they really appreciate. And I'm very serious a lot of the times. And so he's kind of just that lighter mood, which I think we balance each other out. We are both very high energy. So sometimes the girls are like, oh my gosh, that's a lot going on. But no, I think he's been a great addition to the program. He's very passionate and, he really cares about the girls a lot, which I think is the number one thing for our program. And he's really added a lot. And I'm excited, to have him here and have him on board and to continue to see where we go with the program.
Well, Coach, you've got about a minute left. We will remind people this is homecoming week at Eastern New Mexico University, and that means we actually have 2 chances to see your ladies in action. And please remind us of the starting times.
So we play on Friday at 4:30 and then on Saturday at 11 a.m. and prior to the bonfire and the drone show on Friday.
There you go. So that's the way to remember it. Go out to the Steve Loy Family Foundation Arena at 4:30. Watch volleyball, and then after your victory, go out, watch the bonfire, and watch the drone show. And
Exactly.
then Saturday morning, as soon as the parade's over, get yourself to the arena and watch play volleyball at 11.
Yes. Hope to see you all there.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the 4 wins that you've had so far. Let's hope that next time we bring you back on, we can talk about the Greyhounds enhancing that total.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sports Look. So what we'll do is we'll clear the sound, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Last week on SportsLook, I talked about an astounding record that was set by a Dodger pitcher by the name of Blake Snell, who pitched 8 amazingly good innings, struck out 10, didn't give up an earned run, and nobody has done that in postseason history. And then another Dodger pitcher comes along and does something even more amazing. Shohei Ohtani got the win against the Milwaukee Brewers in the clinching game, struck out 10 guys, and hit 3 home runs. And he's the pitcher. I guarantee baseball will be around for a long time to come. You'll never see that performance again. Well, that will finish up in overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of SportsLook. I'd like to thank my guests, Riley Price and Karli Bustos. Ms. Jasmine, my floor director, did a great job. So for all of those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.